Good day, everyone. I'd like to welcome you back to Contemplating Catholicism. I am fortunate to have my wife here today. I told some of my story as we considered different videos, but she wasn't included in that, and I wanted to include her. She's been my partner for 50 years now. We've been married 47, but we got to know each other a few years before that, so it's been 50 years. And I am so fortunate to have her, my beloved, my better half. So I'm going to let her share a little bit from her perspective, and I'll chime in a little bit about our transition to Catholicism. As a pastor, we were heavily involved in ministry in the evangelical world, and we made a big transition for us and for the rest of our family. But why don't you share a little bit about your background, and we'll go from there.
Well, first of all, my name is Sandy. My maiden name is Rash. I was born in Ohio. We were both born in Ohio, but I was raised in Indiana in a small town. And my parents, they were great. They raised me in a church. It was a Lutheran church, but I was baptized, confirmed, went through the different things of being a Lutheran.
And she was the youngest child, so she got spoiled by it.
I had 3 siblings, and I don't know, it was I had great parents. I don't think I really appreciated them as much until later on. So during my teenage years, I think I was rebellious and didn't really want to be what I was raised as.
And we kind of had, I guess, similar stories in that way. And I guess that kind of led to how we actually met, which was kind of outside of church ministry in any way, with the Jesus movement at that time.
Well, we met each other. We were both going to Bible studies. I met some people and got involved in this small Bible study group, and they would talk about being saved and accepting Jesus as your Savior. And these are terms I hadn't heard growing up, which was quite a bit different from being in a liturgical church.
Yeah, I remember the first date we had. I had a motorcycle and long hair, and she would ride on the back, and it made a good impression on her parents, so no. But she had a car, so we took her car, our first date. But I would never forget, at the end of that first date, we prayed in her parents' driveway, and God, His presence was there in kind of a very special way. And it was like God saying, well, this is the one I have for you. And you know what? I think He's right.
It kind of stuck with us. I have had such a wonderful husband because we have shared our faith all along.
And that was the hard part in many ways because, well, we went through everything together. Basically, when we got married, we were married in a United Presbyterian church where we were involved in ministry. And then we moved to Colorado Springs, spent some time there, went to an evangelical free church. And I needed to finish Bible college. I had gone for a couple of years, and my wife had gone to Bible college for a year, so we were looking to go back to Bible college. So we went to
Columbia, South Carolina.
And that was a big switch. We didn't want to leave the mountains. We were in Colorado Springs. But Columbia Bible College at that time was a good experience in many ways. I mean, we had much more familiarity with the Bible, and we were part of a Baptist church, a Southern Baptist church during that time.
And that was in the town of Swansea.
Yeah, Swansea, not to be mixed up with Australia. But after Bible college, we went into our first, full-time pastorate, which was in 5 Mile, Ohio. And it was called 5 miles because it was, 5 miles from anywhere.
Yeah, practically.
But how was that experience as a pastor's wife?
Well, we had a little one at that time, our son, Luke. And so it was a challenging time because we had to be really frugal, and it was a small church, country church.
Yeah, I remember we made $200 a week.
Yes.
But
God took care of us.
It did.
We were around farmers. One farmer, he had cows, and so they had milk and allowed us to have free milk as much as we wanted.
Yeah, and also hamburger. I think we paid like $1 a pound.
Yeah.
Whenever one of the cows would go dry and get it butchered, we got lots of hamburger. And a garden. We put a garden out. And that was an experience.
Did that produce?
Yeah. But after a period of time, we decided we needed more education, so we went to seminary. And we made that transition. And then we made, after the years of seminary, getting my master's degree, my MDiv, we went to pastor in...
Well, there were a number of places we pastored.
Yeah. But primarily, right after seminary, we went to Louisiana, outside of New Orleans.
And at that point, we had 2 children.
Right, so we had one that was born in seminary and another one in the hopper after a little while.
Yes.
And so that would be the third one that would be coming.
Yes.
So that was a unique experience in New Orleans area, Slidell, and a lot of people from different parts of the United States there. Most people were transplants. Had a lot of engineers in the church there, in the oil industry. But after a period of time of pastoring there, we made another big change. And we moved to...
Oak Lawn, Illinois.
Yeah. Oak Lawn was a suburb of Chicago. Basically, when you drive into Chicago or go into Oak Lawn, you don't know you're necessarily going from one to the other until you see a sign. But this was a larger church. They had other people on staff, and we kind of assumed a different role, I guess, there because of that, too. How was that experience for you?
Well, along with being a pastor's wife, I was homeschooling.
Yeah.
Because we didn't want our kids to have too rough of transitions between different places that we'd go to pastor.
Yeah.
And we had our set of values that we wanted to instill upon them, and homeschooling was our choice.
Yeah, and that was a lot on you. She bore the brunt of a lot with raising what came to be 4 children. Had another one born during that time, and she would homeschool. I was busy in the pastorate, and it was hot and heavy.
We were both really busy in the pastorate too. We'd go out and visit people, and our kids were in different things too there.
But I think that was probably the period of time toward the end of our time there. I was beginning to go through a transition, and I think we went through it together. It had a lot to do with some of the fundamentalism, I guess, we were dealing with. Some of the, and I won't go into great detail in that, but theologically I began to rethink some things. And then everything kind of built up to the point to where we made another transition. And this was back to Columbia, South Carolina, to another church, which was another Bible church. And we spent some time there. But during this time, I was also doing my doctoral work and delving more deeply into church history. And that kind of got the ball rolling on this big transition we made to Catholicism. I don't know if you want to have any other input with some of the thinking that was going through your mind at that point.
Well, I knew that we were frustrated with the type of church we were in, because I know one of the things that happened to me, an experience, I was talking with someone who at the church who had lost their parent, and she said, well, my mom was a Catholic, of course, and someone else let her know that her mother would not be saved. And this kind of hit me as like, well, I knew Catholics who have faith, and I can't think of them as not being saved, because we had people that are relatives. You know, we had Chris's parents, they're Catholic. His sister died kind of young, and she was Catholic, and she seemed to be full of faith. So this is one of the things that hit me. Yeah,
and I think that was the thing for me too, is in the fundamentalism we were involved in, we could define who had faith and who didn't have faith. We didn't leave that up to God necessarily. We could define that by whether or not you accepted Jesus, and by your testimony in that, we could determine whether you were. But anyway, as we were moving along, we began to really question a lot of things in our fundamentalism. And then we went to a church. This was St. Peter's Catholic Church in Columbia. I shared on another episode that we went on a Saturday night. We were going to have a Easter sunrise service the next morning at the Evangelical Church, and we were beginning to question and looking around and considering Catholicism, so we ended up going to the Easter Vigil Mass, and that was an experience.
Yes, I entered the church and I thought, wow, there's real worship here. We hadn't had liturgy in a church for a long time, and to see it there, it just kind of blew my mind, because you had the beautiful setting, the altar, Christ depicted on the cross, and all the different aspects, the music and worshipful attitude.
I think during that period of time, I think we kind of both realized there's no turning back. We're going to have to make a major change here. So we made that change. And it wasn't easy in a lot of ways. I mean, you think about everything was revolved around the church. Our family, their friends. During that time, our oldest was involved with the worship team at that church, and
I was too.
Yeah, and of course we were heavily involved. But making a long story short, we began to make the change. But it wasn't automatic, was it? I mean, it wasn't like, okay, now we're Catholic, or it was a process.
Yes.
And I think in some ways that process continues to this day. I know, speaking for me, I had 20 years of evangelical training and preaching, and it's been, 20 years now since we've been involved in the Catholic Church, but had to work through a lot of issues. Well, talk a little bit about that, what you had to work through as we made that transition.
Well, we also had gone through when he decided he could not pastor an evangelical church anymore, a Bible church. He had to resign.
And that was a big change.
And then when he resigned, that meant changes in what we had to do. And what I did, I felt the need to put the kids in public school. I had gotten to a point where it was too much pressure on me.
Oh yeah, I think you were burnt out at that point.
I was burnt out.
Yeah.
Because we have 4 kids, and each of them were different grade levels and all. And we made a pretty good transition there.
We were fortunate to be in a good school district. I mean,
Yes.
that was something we're
Yes.
thankful for.
And also, I don't know, met different people and all, made friends.
And you and the oldest daughter were involved with RCIA at that point, and our 2 younger ones, they were involved with CCD or some form of that. But I think you and the oldest daughter probably learned the most in that process. But to make a long story short, we went through some transitions. Sandy's mom came in to live with us for 8 years, was it?
Yes.
And we were busy trying to get kids into college, get them graduated, and we were busy with life.
And I took on a job.
Yeah, and that was a whole different thing for you.
Because
And the kind of job I took on was secular work. I've been involved in ministry for so many years. And my first job was with Manpower. I was sweeping out the Coliseum in Columbia, South Carolina. And then I got involved eventually in the school system, but it was a transitionary time and a very busy time. And then we come to what we call our monastic years. And this was after we made a move to North Carolina. We began to delve into our Catholic faith, I guess, in a lot deeper way. A lot of reading, a lot of studying. We would always read the Bible together. And one of the books that we rediscovered, I guess, was the book of Sirach. We would try to read it almost every day. I kind of felt like I was deprived of it for so many years. But during that time, we began to delve more deeply. And I know you got involved probably before I did with some of the other aspects of Catholicism, particularly the Rosary, which you have here, and your book on Mary and prayers.
this has been a good book for me. But yes, I started thinking about Mary. I know in any church I had been in, besides the Catholic Church, the view of Mary was like she was a virgin. She had the baby Jesus. Well, it's a little bit
End of story,
more,
right?
Yeah, it's a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
She has quite a job she does even now.
Yeah.
And
But anyway, you were helpful too, I think, for me, because I was still struggling, to be honest, with trying to work through those issues, Marian issues, and also with the rosary. I think you consistently prayed the rosary before I did. But there were other theological issues that I worked through. I began to read some of John Paul II's works and some other books, delving more deeply theologically in my mind into Catholicism, and it was a transitionary period. And then during that time, we were involved in a little Catholic church in Burnsville, Sacred Heart, and keep praying for those folks. They're still suffering in Western North Carolina with Hurricane Helene, and I know there's people still living in tents, and it's cold, but we had some good friends up and down our road that we got to know, and but it was a time we were able to, I think, become we were able to get deeper into our faith.
Something that really spoke to me was reading John 6. And it just really spoke to me about the Eucharist. And that is Jesus' body and blood.
And you had somewhat of a view of that in the Lutheran Church, but not in the same way, I guess. It was the presence of Christ was acknowledged to be in, with, and under the bread and the wine. But with Catholicism, of course, it's we're actually partaking of the body and blood of the Lord. But John 6 changes a lot of things, doesn't it?
And I think what you really at heart felt like you needed to do is take the Eucharist.
I think that's what drove us back.
Yes.
I mean, really, during that time, to be honest, we had a period of time where we did not go to church, period. And unfortunately, it's not something that I'm proud of, but it is what drew me back. I mean, I realized there was a spiritual need, and as we went into things on our own, I realized, well, we need to be part of regularly attending a Catholic church again. And it was the Eucharist. Yeah, that drew me. He said, nothing else would satisfy the thirsty soul.
So this period of time that we were in North Carolina was 4 years. And we had some large acreage. We were working, building a homestead, renovating a house and land and all. It was a lot of work. Yeah. And we were in a farmer's market and met people, you know, and...
And we are involved pretty heavily now in our church here, and I think we'll probably do this in a part 2 at some point, because I know my wife's been heavily involved in women's ministry here, and she and another woman started a ministry here and had to have a core team. But I'd like to have her share more concerning that and our involvement here. But the Lord has been gracious to us. He has led us these many, many years, and we're looking forward to some good years yet. In fact, we kind of, in many ways, feel like the best is yet to come. But I know that you're on a journey too, many of you. Many of you have made this journey. It continues to be a journey, I think, for all of us. And it will continue to be that way until we meet the Lord in heaven.
That's for sure.
But we pray for you. We thank you for all of you who are turning in to listen, to see the videos. And we recognize it's a great privilege to be able to share with you. But I appreciate my wife.
I appreciate you. And
that we're partners together, that God put us together. What God has put together, let no man put asunder. And I believe from the get-go, God put us together, and I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for her. And thank you for being with us today, and we hope you have a great day.